Firstly, I'd like to thank you all for coming today and being part of this 74th commemoration of the Łódź Ghetto. Over the next few minutes, I would like to try and give you my perspective of how I remember life in Łódź Ghetto as a young child. My name is Mordechai Glasman, and I was born in the city of Łódź, Poland, 4th of July, 1937. This means that when the war began in 1939, I was only 2.5 years old. When the Germans invaded Poland in World War II, the Nazis gave strict orders that all Jews in Łódź were to be rounded up and forced to live in a poor Łódź suburb known Baluty. The Baluty quarter soon became the Łódź Ghetto, surrounded by barbed wire fencing and Nazi guards. For the next 5 years, we would live inside the ghetto with no contact from the outside world. I remember my address in the ghetto was Żydowska number 6. The ghetto population had approximately 150,000 Jews from villages nearby, as well as a massive influx of Jews from Germany, Czechoslovakia, and Luxembourg. In the first 2 years, most people died from shortage of food, no housing, and frostbitten in the winter. I have been told approximately 70,000 died, or half of the ghetto population perished this way. As a 5 to 7-year-old boy, I remember to this day seeing men, women, and children lying dead in the street. In fact, it was not unusual to be playing hide and seek with kids hiding around their dead bodies. These corpses were eventually moved by horse carriage to the Jewish cemetery. The smell of the dead bodies was unbearable. At the age of 5, my parents would go off to work in the ghetto. I was left alone at my home myself. I remember one morning, staring out of the window of our second-floor apartment, suddenly I saw a woman, maybe 30 years old, jumping out of the window from the 3rd floor, plummeting to her death. I was shocked, stunned, and confused. I couldn't understand the reason why this would happen. When my parents returned home from work that evening, they explained to me that this woman committed suicide. She found her child had died from starvation, and she did not want to live anymore. This incident still gives me nightmares today. Life in the ghetto was worse and worse each day. Every day, Nazi roundups were made, herding Jews like cattle and sending them to concentration camps such as Helno and Auschwitz. All this time inside the ghetto, we had no idea where our fellow Jews were going. We were isolated completely from the outside world. There were also special roundups for children. Children under 10 years old immediately were sent to death camps, thinking they were going to a holiday camps. If you could not work, you were of no use to the Germans. Children over 10 years old were sent to join the workforce inside the ghetto. Me, being 7 years old at this point, I was lucky that I was tall and thin. My parents somehow were able to bluff my age as being over 10 years. So miraculously, I was not sent to these death camps. I found myself working as a message boy in a factory that made uniforms for the German army. Another incident that I stand out in my mind is when my father was summoned to the German Gestapo office called Ghetto, demanding he give back all gold and jewelry, or he would be beaten up. My father had no gold or jewelry. I remember him returning from the Gestapo, beaten and bruised all over the body. My father's younger brother, Uncle Henrik, or Henry, was in the Łódź Ghetto too. He worked as a chef in the kitchen office under the Nazi officer who was called Bibov. Working in the Ghetto was a very big advantage for us. Uncle Henrik knew up front when and which streets roundups were to happen, so he could avoid getting caught by the Nazis, who were systematically clearing out the ghetto to the camps. In the last year of 1944, we all hid in an underground bunker built by my father, uncle, and some other family which I can't remember. In total, there was approximately 8 of us hiding in a one little space or room. No light, no heating, no food, no nothing, just a tiny space to hide, hopefully escape being found. Next to our bunker, maybe hundreds of meters away, was another bunker, hiding about 24 people. Among these people was a well-known Jewish lawyer, Dr. Weisskopf. At night time, my father, together with Dr. Weisskopf, would collect food scraps from the empty farms that were close by so we could eat. Eating raw potatoes was the main dish to keep us going. At one point, my mother had enough hiding. She decided we should all leave the bunker, which was overcrowded. We made our way to the other bunker to tell Dr. Weisskopf we're leaving. Luckily, he had a radio receiver and was able to tell us that millions of Jews were being killed every day. Better we stay if we want to have a chance to survive. One morning, we heard a lot of noises and screaming. We knew that the other bunker had been discovered by the Nazis. I was very worried that our bunker was next. I didn't scream or make a noise. I was silent, but I beat my nails to their stubs in fear. My maturity stopped me from crying or being found. Within moments, all the people of Dr. Weisskopf's bunker were shot dead, except a father and his 6-year-old daughter, who managed to escape to a nearby thick forest. After some time, they would somehow crawl in our bunker. When we heard them scratching above our bunker to let them in, I saw that was the end. So, to find it was only them was a major relief. Dr. Weisskopf was a great man who stood up to the crippled Chief Bebop, even throwing a brick at him, screaming, "We'll not go to the slaughter like lambs." He was shot on the spot, but forever remains my hero. My parents now were scared and decided to leave the bunker and join a small work camp in the ghetto, Yakuba 16. Our job was to clear out and leftovers furniture in the ghetto and send them to Germany. The final task we were given by the Nazis liquidating the ghetto was to dig holes in the Jewish cemetery, soon to be graves for our only remaining Jews still in the ghetto, including ourselves. These holes, there were 5 graves as a matter of fact, are still in Łódź cemetery today. They were never filled in, thank God. On 17th of January 1945, the Russian army liberated our ghetto and were set free. From the 230,000 Jews who were in Łódź ghetto, only 588 Jews survived. As far as the child survivors of the Łódź ghetto, you can count them on one hand. Actually, I read in the internet that 12 kids or children survived the ghetto Łódź, so I guess that makes me one of 12. After the war, we stayed in Łódź for another 5 years till I was 13. While attending to Polish primary school, I was often bullied that my parents killed Jesus, and subject to the anti-Semitic behavior from Polish kids. Eventually, my parents moved me to a Jewish school named Yitzhak Leibes Parish for 3 years. Amazingly, my parents managed to build a successful candle-making business, but under communism, private enterprise was condemned. So finally, we were forced to flee for our lives from Poland to this time for good. My mother, father, and I grabbed whatever we could in our hands. Suitcases in hand, we caught trains through Europe to Venice, Italy, and arrived in Israel by boat in January 1951. I finished my schooling, joined the Israeli army for 3 years, graduated as an officer, learned Hebrew, language before flying to Australia and landing in Essendon Airport to be with my uncle Henrik and Auntie Bonia, Auntie Sala and Uncle Benson, all Auschwitz survivors, in March 1963. After 2 weeks in Australia, I met my beautiful wife Sarah, whom I married 1 year later and spent next 55 years here raising a family with 3 kids, Ilana, Simon, and Sharon. I now have 8 gorgeous grandchildren who are all here today. Can you please stand? And I'm so proud of all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for my story.